Tate's Take fans, how we doing today? Thursday, August 14th. This is a big episode. This is the one where I reveal my whole playoff bracket with all my conference title predictions. Super excited for this one. I think this is the coolest one of the year so far just because I put my playoff prediction out there. I got a bracket all done. It's going to come up here on the screen in a second. And it's the big episode. Like, this is where it's like, well, what's this guy Jeff know? What's he going to do? What's he going to predict? Last year I picked the championship winner right on my podcast, and I felt very prideful with that. You know, I did pick Ohio State, who is the team I am very biased to, but I did pick it right. And I think when I did the math, I got 8 or 9 of the 12 playoff teams right. So, you know, there's a lot of prediction that goes into it, and there's a whole lot of things that, quite honestly, you just don't know. So, as always, please subscribe to the channel. I don't know what happened. We got to 8. I think we're down to 7. Maybe I got it wrong, but I thought we were at 8. But we're at 7, and it looks like we've always been at 7, so I think I got that wrong. How about this? After this show, can we get to 10? That's not a lot to ask. I'm averaging 19 people watching each show, so the numbers are there. Just while you're watching this video, just click on the channel. If you pause right now, you can click channel and it will actually take you right to the Tate's Take channel, and you can click subscribe. That way you'll be notified of new videos. You'll also know of everything going on with the channel, and I really appreciate it, guys. That's all I ask you to do. I just ask you to subscribe if you enjoy it and you want to watch future episodes. If you watch one, you don't like it, you have no desire to watch it, I understand not subscribing. But if you want to be a regular on the Tate's Take, please subscribe. It just takes a little bit of time, and I appreciate it a lot. So we're super close. Now we are less than 10 days away from the first college football game. And like I said, that's the top 25 matchup. Kansas State goes to Dublin to play Iowa State. So we do have top 25 matchup there. You're going to see and hear about some of the games next week on next week's episode of the Tate's Take. And at the same time, got some cool graphics we're working on. I'm really excited about these graphics. You know, I don't have an extensive Photoshop background, but I do have a little experience in it. Shout out to one of my good buddies in college who is doing amazing things in the graphics recruiting landscape for college basketball. He's really good at it. I'm 25% of his talent, but he's taught me some things and also learning some things. And I'm also super excited because we're going to give out some picks next week. We're not going to have like the normal 5 picks I plan to give out most weeks because there's just not as many games that I want to put my reputation on the line for to bet on the channel. So without further ado, let's get into the show today, and it's playoff prediction time. It is my favorite episode just because I love putting my records out there and telling you exactly what I think is going to happen this year. And I think a lot of good is going to happen this year. I was putting this together and I was like sitting there and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I love this. And to think of kind of the breakdown of the playoff, super excited. So I will be putting up the playoff here in a second. It's going to be my full playoff predictions, okay? It picks every game, but it also picks 1 through 12. So I want to put that up here in a sec, but what I want to do is explain to you guys that the playoff bracket's a little different this year, and it's a good thing. Last year, in the first edition of the 12-team playoff, the top 4 seeds were automatic conference winners. And what we got there that, you know, weren't, in my opinion, the biggest fan of is some teams were probably a little, I guess, higher rated than what I think they would have been if you do the standard model, where what we're doing this year is 1 through 12. We're ranking it. The only difference is, let's say that Arizona wins the Big 12. See, I'm not going to use one team that I actually am picking, but Arizona wins the Big 12, but they, in the experts' opinion, are the 11th best team in the playoff. They're going to be the 11th seed. They're not going to be the 4 seed, which is what happened last year, which I like it. Good move from the College Football Committee. It rewards the best teams and it prioritizes them, but it also gets the conferences, you know, that aren't as good. It still gets them an automatic qualifier, and I think ultimately that is all that they care about, because if I were those conferences, that's probably the way that if I'm looking at it, I would like it to be. We do get a group of 5 team as well. Most likely, I think probably every year they're going to be the 12th seed, no doubt. But we have 4 teams that get a bye, and then we have 4 first-round matchups that happen at the campus site games. So it's a blast. I mean, this year's site for the quarterfinals is the Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl. And then our semifinals games are the Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl. So that is out in Arizona and at Atlanta where the Peach Bowl is played. So a little background before I get into these picks here. I have 3 Big Ten teams, okay, that made the playoffs. I'm counting it out right now. I have 4. Okay, it's a little less than I think people would have thought. I have 4 SEC teams. So 7 of the 12 playoff is SEC. Makes sense so far, I think. I have 2 teams from the ACC, so that's 9 total teams. I have 1 team not affiliated with a conference. You're going to guess who that is in a sec. I have 1 team from the Big 12, and then I have 1 group of 5 teams. So pretty standard stuff. I think most of your playoff predictions you're going to be seeing here shortly are going to have half or more of it being the Big Ten and SEC. They're the best teams. They have the best depth. I can even see scenarios where 8, potentially 9 teams make it from those 2 conferences. Notre Dame's kind of a big swing one. If they make it, then I think it takes away from potentially another SEC or Big Ten team. So the biggest odds to make a playoff, so, FanDuel, you can bet all these teams to make a playoff. You can't parlay them. Some books let you actually parlay all 12 teams. I did the math, and I think if you put $10 on all 12 of my teams to make it on DraftKings, it's over $1 million payout. So it just shows how hard it is to pick 12 teams. But the craziest odds of a team that is in my playoff is 18-1 odds, and the second highest is plus 420. So there's some, I guess, high odd potential there if you want to just pick one of them and run with it. So without further ado, here is my 2025-2026 college football playoff coming on the board right now. So my top overall seed is Ohio State. They are the best team in the country, in my opinion, with having Jeremiah Smith on the offense, best player in college football, and then the best player in defense in college football in Caleb Downs. I think Julian Sand's a stud. I think it's going to work, and I think he's a better quarterback than Will Howard in terms of pure arm talent. Running back room steps off a little bit, but I think it's super elite. They're my number 1 seed. Number 2, I got Georgia. So, and in this, keep in mind, I got Ohio State winning the Big Ten, and I have Ohio State beating Penn State in the Big Ten, and therefore Ohio State number 1 seed here. That's my prediction there. Number 2, Georgia. I have Georgia winning the SEC this year. I think Kirby Smart bounces back from a quote down year in their opinion last year. They only made it to the quarterfinals. And they lost, or no, they didn't even, no, yeah, they made it to quarterfinals, lost to Notre Dame. I have them right here as the 2 seed. 3 seed, Texas. That's my runner-up in the SEC. Georgia, Texas play for the SEC crown. My 4 seed, Clemson. I got them winning the ACC versus Miami. 5th seed, Penn State. So the runner-up to the Big Ten, I got them there. The 6th seed, Alabama. I think Alabama has a really good year in year 2 with Kalen DeBoer. And I think you see Ty Simpson just be the steady quarterback that Alabama's always had outside of Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe had the very high explosive plays, but he also had horrible interceptions, horrible turnovers. Year 2 there with Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb comes in as the offensive coordinator. I think it clicks for them. I think they get back to a playoff. 7, Notre Dame. They're initially the 6th best team coming in based on the AP poll. I think they lose a game to potentially Texas A&M or Miami, and then they drop one other game, like potentially a USC game, potentially Arkansas. Weird games like that. I see them being 10-2, and I think they should be outside the top 5 with that record, given not being in a conference. Number 8, Texas A&M. This is my team that, they're 19 in the AP poll coming in. I like this Texas A&M team. I think they have a favorable schedule in the SEC. And I think this is saying Marcel Reed develops as a passer. Mike Elko's got a really good defense there. He loves it. All the hype out of preseason camps, he loves his defense there. And I think if he has a good defense, this team can do enough on offense. They got Le'Veon Moss still there. And then they bring in a really good transfer from NC State and Kevin Concepcion. So really good team there at Texas A&M. Now all the teams 9 through 12, they'd have to go on the road for those first games. And I got Oregon out of the Big Ten, number 9. Some question marks there. Evan Stewart could be out for quite a bit, their best receiver. Dante Moore, I'm really high on him, and I love Dan Lanning as a coach. So hard for me not to put them in there. Number 10, Miami, Florida. I like them this year. I think Carson Beck is a much better quarterback for that fan base. You know, they're going from Cam Ward, who is a stud, to Carson Beck. Not much of a drop-off there, in my opinion. I think Cam Ward's better, but this team also, I think that elite recruiting's coming in. Good transfers. I like this team a lot. And in the ACC, you know, I like them to be 10-2 going into that championship game, losing to Clemson in the championship, and I think you put them in. Kansas State, they're my only team from the Big 12. I just think the Big 12 is going to cannibalize itself. I see a lot happening. I think the winner is 9-3 in the Big 12, and that's the best record. And I think that's why you see them only having one team. And then number 12, UNLV. That's going to surprise a lot of people. Boise State is the favorite. I looked it up today. They're minus money to win the Mountain West, which just I think is crazy. Ashton Jeanty was the whole team there last year. They still have Maddox Madsen. They got receivers coming back. But Ashton Jeanty he's worth so much to what they did last year that I just find it really, really hard for Boise State to be that much of a favorite. And I love Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen's won everywhere he's gone in college football. They got a pretty favorable schedule. Their hardest game's at Boise. So it's going to come down to, do they beat Boise? They could potentially rematch in the Mountain West. I like this team being potentially 11-1, 10-2 maybe, get to the conference, win it, go 11-2. But I like UNLV being the group of 5 team. Not super high on any teams outside of them. You know, like a Navy, they're always going to get love, but I just think it's always going to be hard to put Navy in, especially since they're going to play Notre Dame, and they just don't play a hard schedule, and they're not in a conference that, you know, is really credible. Tulane's a team that also a lot of people like as well, but I like UNLV. A sneaky team that could surprise people. Don't sleep on Oregon State. Oregon State with Malik Murphy could be really intriguing. So, hey, that's where I'm kind of at. So that's my 1 through 12. And, you know, Texas A&M is I have them at number 8. They're 19 in the AP poll, so it's 11 spots better than what they think. Kansas State, 17 in the AP poll. I got them at 11 here in the playoff poll. But as the playoff goes on, you can see I got all of the top 4 teams winning their matchups in the quarterfinals. I know it's chalk. I've been criticized as being chalk Jeff in the past, but look at those games. Penn State, Clemson, love that game. Texas A&M, Ohio State, love that game. Alabama, Texas, they don't play in the regular season. That'd be their only matchup this year. And then Notre Dame, Georgia. All 4 of those games, you wouldn't have one complaint from college football fans at all. That would be perfect. And that's what we get by doing the playoff this way. You know, other way, you know, Kansas State would be in that round, or potentially UNLV would be in that round. And so I just love how they're doing it. I think it's going to work much better going forward. I got Clemson playing Ohio State. Ohio State would beat them. Those two have had battles, especially Dabo Swinney, Ryan Day, battles back and forth. Ohio State's a better football team there. They win. Texas, Georgia, I think they play earlier in the year, okay? I think Georgia wins that game. And then they're going to play in the SEC championship, and I think Texas wins that. Other way around. Texas wins the regular season matchup. Georgia wins the SEC championship matchup. And then Texas wins round 3 in the semifinals. And then we get a week 1 rematch of Ohio State, Texas, and the Buckeyes come through and win back-to-back national championships. Yes, you can say I'm biased. Yes, you can say it's because I'm an Ohio State fan. But I just think that Ohio State team is legit. And I think they're going to be a lot better than people think, given what the talk is around Columbus. I mean, this team should be the number 1 preseason team just because they won it all last year and they returned Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. They weren't. I think that's actually motivation for them. I think this is a team that could have more talent than last year's team, but just unproven talent. That's maybe a bold thing to say, but that running back room, James Peoples, he's going to break out. I love the transfer acquisition of C.J. Donaldson at running back, and I love getting Max Clare, a really good tight end. And then they went out and got a lot of guys on the offensive line in the portal. Really good defensive rusher and Paul Atkinson from North Carolina. This team did it right. They got a really good secondary, and that's the best team in college football. And I think they prove it. Ryan Day's proven that he can win those playoff games, except for the only games he can't win is Michigan. And that's a crazy thing to think about when you look at how bad Michigan was last year. But hey, if you win the national championship, in my opinion, that will always, always trump it up. So putting it up one more time, here's my playoff bracket with Ohio State winning it all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know where if I'm crazy on any of these picks. You know, UNLV might get some laughs, but I really like UNLV to get that last playoff spot. And here's the predictions. This is it. This is my playoff. I did forget to do the Big 12 prediction. I got Kansas State playing Texas Tech there. I do think Texas Tech has a good year, but I think they're just on the outside because I think the Big 12 beats each other up. So this is my playoff for 2025, 2026. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you use some of it for your future bets for this year. And if you like it, you tail it. If you don't, you fade it. That's really what I hope to do with the sports betting picks. So next week, you actually get a game preview episode with a really cool graphic I've been working on. So I will see you guys next week for a preview of week 0 and real college football. Have a great day, everybody.